the real anti-Semitism. Do you know about the connections between the Republican Party and the neo-Nazis which were revealed a few months ago? That was sort of an interesting phenomenon. It's hard to know exactly how seriously to take it, but it's certainly very real. There's this part of the Bush campaign called the Ethnic Outreach Committee, which tries to organize ethnic minorities. Obviously, that doesn't mean blacks or Hispanics. It means Ukrainians, Poles, that sort of business. And it turned out that it was being run by a bunch of East European Nazis, Ukrainian Nazis, hysterical anti-Semites, Romanians, who came out of the Iron Guard and so on. Well, finally, this got exposed. Some of the people were reshuffled. Some were put into other positions in the Republican Party, but it all just passed over very quietly. The Democrats never even raised the issue during the election campaign. You might ask, why? How come the Democrats never even raised the issue? Well, I think there was a very good reason for that. I think the Jewish organizations like the Anti-Defamation League basically called them off. The point is, these organizations don't ultimately care about anti-Semitism. What they care about is opposition to the policies of Israel. In fact, opposition to their own hawkish version of the policies of Israel. They're Israeli government lobbies, essentially, and they understood that these Nazis in the Bush campaign were quite pro-Israel. So, what do they care? The New Republic, which is sort of an organ for these groups, had a very interesting editorial on it. It was about anti-Semitism, and it referred to the fact that this committee was being run by anti-Semites, Holocaust deniers, Nazis, and so on. And then it said, yes, that's all true, but this is just antique and anemic anti-Semitism. Nazism is just antique and anemic anti-Semitism. Not terribly important. We shouldn't get too upset about it. And then it said, the real anti-Semitism that we ought to be worried about is in the Democratic Party, which is filled with Jew haters. That was the phrase they used. And part of the proof is the Democrats were actually willing to debate a resolution calling for Palestinian self-determination at their national convention. So, therefore, they're Jew haters. And that's the real anti-Semitism in America. That was, in fact, the title of a book by the director of the ADL, Nathan Perlmutter. Well, the Democrats got the message that they weren't going to win any points with this, so they never raised a peep about it. Incidentally, this is only one of the things that happened at that time. There's another story which got even less publicity and is even more revealing. The Department of Education has a program of grants that it dispenses to fund projects initiated by local school systems. And for the last 4 or 5 years, the school board in Brookline, Massachusetts, has been trying to get funding for a project on the Holocaust, which always gets very favorably reviewed, but is always turned down. Again, in 1988, also right before the election, the Federal Reviewing Committee had to deal with their proposal. As usual, it got very favorable reviews, but instead of just turning it down, this time the government simply eliminated the entire program category under which it was being submitted. Well, at that point some information began to surface as to why the project kept getting turned down, and it turned out that it was being refused every year because of letters the department was getting from people like Phyllis Schlafly, a right-wing activist, attacking it for being unfair because it didn't give adequate space to Nazis and Ku Klux Klan members. Besides, they said, it's kind of brainwashing children, turning them against things like the Holocaust. It's just more of this neoliberal tampering with people's thoughts. Parts of these letters actually got published in the Washington Post and the Boston Globe. Well, you'd have thought there'd be an uproar. A program on the Holocaust gets turned down by the government, by the Reagan administration, because it doesn't give enough space to Nazi and Klan members? Not a peep. Not a peep. And the point is, Phyllis Schlafly and that whole gang are adequately pro-Israel, and therefore it doesn't matter what they think. They can be in favor of the Klan. They can be in favor of the Nazis. They can say you shouldn't be allowed to teach the Holocaust. It doesn't matter, as long as they remain sufficiently supportive of hawkish Israeli policies. As long as they meet that qualification, it's fine. They can say whatever they want.